Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts, Mattson Heiner.
Better red than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
And I'm apparently turning the time over to the real Ginge Mattson for the intro.
Yay!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a real Ginge movie here. Casino is something that I only came across like 7 or 8 years ago. I was watching TV, and I guess I had a long time to watch TV because this certainly isn't a short movie. But if you are looking to see Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci in a gangster movie, then look no further than The City of Sin. Las Vegas, the prime lights. If you want to know the history of how Sin City was built, what better way to get educated than a movie about the history itself? If you want to know bad parenting, watch this movie. If you want to understand how to run a casino, you should watch this movie. If you want to be a part of a gang and make it through the ranks and beat people up and stab them with a pen, you can watch this movie too. All of that being said, the thing that this movie teaches more than most, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Drinking with drugs is even worse and will make you go deranged and scary. And if you have a deadbeat boyfriend, you should probably kick him to the curb when you have over $1 million in jewelry. Let's stay with the man that gave that to you. Let's not deviate. Again, don't piss off the mob monsters. I don't know why they meet in a particular grocery store restaurant in the middle of Kansas City. Couldn't they go somewhere nicer? I don't know. But they really like Mama's cooking. All that to be said, this movie is long, but this movie is well acted, and it gives you the history of how Sin City was built. You should watch it. You should enjoy it. I'm not sure who you're going to like more. Are you going to be on more of Sam's side in the casino? Or are you going to be more on Joe Pesci with the gangster? Everyone dies a horrible death, but Sam makes it out alive. Gambling is the path to a good life. Anyways, that's my intro. If you want a good time, drugs, parenting, gambling, Vegas, mafia, go for it.
What's Our Verdict reviews do not condone any of those activities whatsoever. That is you doing your own shit. Don't listen to Mattson.
And with that, we appreciate you tuning in.
But if you wanted to do that, watch this movie and live through them vicariously.
That's fair. I feel like there's not much left to review. It was a great synopsis of a 3-hour movie. But let me get into the nitty gritty here and let you guys know that this movie, Casino, was released November 22nd, 1995. It was written by Nicholas Pileggi and Martin Scorsese. It was directed by Martin Scorsese. Stars Robert De Niro, Sharon Stone, Joe Pesci, James Wood, Don Rickles, Kevin Pollak, and a whole bunch of old Italian guys that I'm not going to go through and name. So, yeah, Casino.
Old fat Italian guys.
Guys, I haven't seen this movie in like 15 years. And I remembered watching it. Why I haven't seen it in like 15 years.
I will say, haven't watched it in a couple of years, having watched it for the review, I was like, I already know they're going to hit me on how long this movie takes to get where it needs to go. Because even I was like, damn, this movie takes a long time.
Here's the thing, though, is it's a lot like, it's a Scorsese thing. Like, this dude like is so dialogue heavy, setup heavy. Like, he takes forever to get anywhere. And I realize he's a very character-driven guy, and I appreciate character-driven movies and television shows and media. However, this movie's long, and it's not like fascinating long. I felt like I laughed, and I had this comparison where I was like, this feels like Scarface to me. Like, in that Scarface is long, and there's like this, there's these bouts of really cool shit going on, really interesting, intriguing plot, and then there's bouts of you're like, I'm bored. And I felt like I don't think I'd ever made the comparison other than they're both kind of gangster movies between Scarface and this movie until I was watching it today going, oh, wow, this reminds me of Scarface just because of that very thing. It's a little long, and has some downtime where I'm like, okay, we need to move along. I'm ready for the next thing. But that's a Scorsese thing, tried and true.
Well, because his one that came out like what 1 or 2 years ago that was like almost 4 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Came
The
out.
Irishman or whatever.
Yeah, The Irishman. Like I watched it, I didn't mind it, but it was the same time. It was even longer, and again, it was incredibly well acted. Like the overall story was intriguing to an extent, but it took forever. I think it's just his calling card. I was about to ask, does Scorsese make a short film? I don't know.
I don't know that he does. I really don't.
I
I'm
love
trying to
that.
think, but
I love that a couple years ago, Scorsese kind of shit on Marvel
yeah,
for being the same movie, and this dude makes the same movie every single time he makes a movie,
it's
including
fair.
making Joe Pesci for whatever reason the muscle. This dude's like 3 feet tall and built like a bowling ball.
Little guy's always got something to prove, man.
Dude,
Yep. I mean, you
Robert
don't
De
see it
Niro
coming.
could
I'll give
pick
him
up
that.
Joe Pesci and put him on the shelf and just leave him there. Dude can't get down on his own.
Dude, that scene where he stabs that dude with the pen because he like annoyed Sam a little bit or something. You're just like, whoa, like this dude is ready to
He's a
go.
very angry little elf.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that the one thing about this movie, Casino, is that it probably has the most intriguing first 35, 40 minutes of a lot of movies. Yeah, it starts with a car bombing situation where you're like, this is my lead that just blew up. And then there's the pen stabbing, and there's the beauty of Vegas and seeing old Vegas and the casinos and how it's being run and the explanation of all the different ways that they skim and they take money. So I mean, it was really intriguing up front, and then it just kind of falls off a cliff, and you're like, oh, this is a Scorsese film. And then it'll have these moments again where Pesci goes off, or you have like the weird intrigue of like the battle between the mob and Ace, and then the local politicians and guys that are running all the gaming stuff. And so that intrigue was kind of fun, seeing how that all blew up their face. And then it slows down again, and you're like, oh God. And I love Sharon Stone, but her character just annoys the shit out of me in this movie. I think that's always been I remember it always being one of my big problems is I feel like she was wasted in this movie, because Sharon Stone is amazing, but this movie I'm just like,
JJ, it was the drugs.
I know. But I didn't like her when she was sober.
I
mean,
like the
that's a-
scene. I like the scene where she's in the bank with their little baby, and she's just like, "Look at all that Daddy gave her." You're just like, this woman is motivated by one thing. She likes shiny things.
Yeah. And I think the only time I won't say, let me rephrase. I do like her when you first meet her and she's scamming everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she basically is running this underground network within the casinos in order to make more money. I just think that they ruin everything that makes her cool. And I'm like, I don't see someone, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is like an 80s, 90s movie trope where you take this strong woman that's interesting character, and then she becomes not interesting because of a dude. And I'm like, a woman
dude
like
named
that.
Lester, no less.
Yeah, well, Lester and then Ace, one because they were childhood friends, and the other because he has money. I'm like, a woman like that's not going to marry this dude no matter what. And she's not going to fall off what she's doing. She's going to keep making her own scratch while she has the fallback to him being a made man, or not. He wasn't a made man, but having the money. So it's just like, I don't know. I just don't like the treatment of that character. I just think it could have done without it, even though she's the linchpin that gets freaking Joe Pesci's character.
You know what I should have added to my summary, though?
Literally.
I forgot to mention a significant portion is don't bang your childhood best friend's wife. Like don't like when Joe Pesci, when he's towards the end when they're in the back of the restaurant after they basically kick Ginger out. Well, they don't basically, they kick her out, and he's like, I got a big problem here. He's just like, man, like I could have done this with many other women that he was doing, and just like, what was I doing? I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That part's so real, though. Men are stupid when it comes to women.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid.
But I liked in this movie how it portrayed two men that had two very clear goals that couldn't get out of the way of each other, and they were just each other's own worst enemies to an extent. Well, I'd say more of the blame is on Nicky because he was. I don't think he could see himself ruining a good thing if he had just stayed a little bit more behind the scenes. Sam's whole operation was working and was doing very well, clearly, because he didn't get killed in the end because he was still making them boatloads of money. But someone like Nicky, as we saw, if you willingly stab someone with a pen, like when they just say like an offhand remark, like you've got issues upstairs and you probably don't ever know when to stop.
I think to your point, the best part is the comparison of these two guys, because they're at the end of the day, they're the same person, just two different paths, like two different ways to get things done. Because I really think that even Ace, like, because he stuck to his guns in so many, like with the politician, the son-in-law or whatever, the moron with that didn't catch the cheater or was involved in the cheater, one of the two, and then fires him and refuses to take him back. Dude, the guy just said, well, what can we do? Just make him your head of food or something. Like, get him out of the gaming side, and you can still keep both sides happy. He's not involved in anything that's going to cost you much money because they can't lose in the gaming side. But you're not going to lose your gaming license, or lack of gaming license isn't going to come up because you refuse to keep this dude on. Same with Nicky. Like, it's just rash decisions and pride that get in the way. Nicky loses his shit because someone insults his pride, or someone else that he cares about goes half-cocked, starts stabbing people with a pen or beating the shit out of it and just yelling at people in public. So much to the point that he becomes FBI #1 in Vegas. So that's what I like, is that comparison of the two leads. And that's why it's so interesting to listen to their narrative too, the narration between the two of them, because you almost forget, if it weren't for the fact that you can tell De Niro's and Pesci's voices so different, they basically are saying the same things in the same way. It's just from their point of view and perspective, and how their voices carry through and their thought processes are. So I really like that comparison throughout the movie. I always find that to be the best part. But then there's just riddled with shit that doesn't need to be there, that I'm just like, God.
Yeah, I kind of love it like that too. And there, you can almost see the cracks in Ace, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're hidden. He's more refined, but they're still there. And Nick, who requested this on our TikTok for us to watch, his favorite scene is one of those scenes, and it's the blueberry scene in the muffins, where he's like, why doesn't every muffin have the same amount of blueberries? Like, look at all the blueberries in your muffin. I got 2. And he goes back to the chef, and he's like, you're going to put the same amount of blueberries in every muffin. And the chef's looking at him like, do you realize how long that's going to take? It's like, I don't care how long it takes. Just do it.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that little bit of psychotic seeping through the cracks. He's still holding everything together, but you just get these little flashes or little images that he's crazy.
Yeah, he's cuckoo.
One thing I've never done this before. You know, a lot of movies that are based on true stories, to an extent, they embellish a lot of it. I'm just gonna go down History versus Hollywood and just read a couple. Did Sam Rosenthal manage any other casinos besides the Tangiers? He actually managed 4, but the one that he did manage in this movie, they changed the name. It was actually called Stardust, but he managed that one and 3 others. The Tangiers was really funded by the Teamsters. That scene where they show like the security cutting off, or smashing the hand of a cheater, that happened. It happened a slightly different way, but it happened. Sam and Ginger did have a daughter. They also had a son. Sam and Ginger, the Lester guy existed. She had a previous marriage and had a kid, but it was slightly different extent. Nicky did really get banned from all the casinos, so he was blacklisted. I mean, I could keep going down. Nicky did have a son. He did really recruit his boys back home for different heists. And Nicky really did sleep with Sam's wife, and it keeps going. Like, so I have to give this movie props, because a lot of times you just don't really know what's true, what's not. But I haven't gone through everything, but that's a significant part of the plot line. It happened straight up, which is kind of crazy to really think about. the shiz you just watched in this movie really happened.
Yeah, Vegas was a nutty place back then.
Like,
Wow,
they
it is for very different reasons now, but
they shot Philip Green's business partner, that lady. She did die in her own home. They did kill her. The whole gaming license control board thing was real. The FBI did land their plane on that golf course. That happened because they ran out of fuel. Like, Sam did have his own TV show to try to get back. So it's just crazy. They really did get a divorce, but it wasn't contested. It looks like it was more peaceful than. That's where they embellished it, was this whole drug stuff, it seems like.
Were the blueberries real?
Could be. I did hear that there was a lot, like the heists and stuff were pretty real too.
Oh,
like
I
the
guess
stuff that Nikki was pulling off.
No, I guess she really did try to run off with to the Lenny guy. So I take that back. I don't know if it doesn't really say anything about the drugs, but it looks like that might have happened as well. So I do, because you look at like another movie I absolutely love, the football movie. Why am I forgetting? Remember the Titans. And there's some very untrue things towards the end of that movie that greatly affect what actually happened. And when I heard that hurt my soul. So this makes me feel a little bit better about the movie because this stuff happened.
Yeah. Well, and there really was a car bomb that Rosenthal survived.
Yeah, dude, the picture of it. Oh my gosh, the real
picture. Is there a
picture?
I haven't seen the picture.
Yeah, they have the real picture. The car is the back half. It's holy cow. It like the back half's gone. It's just gone. Like he should have really died. But I guess that the plate underneath him saved him. Which is what
crazy.
He did. So it really like saved his life. Because you look at this picture, he's like should be totally dead.
Always get the upgraded model.
Exactly.
Never get the base.
Actually, it looks like Ginger was a druggie because the more I'm going down this, she did overdose and die in that LA motel. So she died that way.
Wow.
Damn, she had a rough ending.
Wow, I think she probably had a pretty rough life for the most part. Like, I can't imagine. Like, I've always wondered that. Like, it's not like I've ever thought, "Hey, I want to be a mob gangster or whatever." But I've often wondered, like, how stressful. Like, you see Ace's character, Sam's character in this, like, constantly taking like his ulcer medication, and he gets in a fight with Ginger about the medication, and I can't even imagine the level of stress that you have to constantly be under, not just running casinos, but like these guys will kill you at the drop of a hat if you do something silly or that endangers their business. Like, at least that's always the portrayal that you get, right? And the stories that they tell, like, you're never truly safe. Even as a made man, you see, and the story, you know, and if as much as the stories you're saying that a big part of the reason that the real version of Nikki gets killed is because he slept with a non-made man's wife. Like, damn. And I get it. Like, I support it in a way, right? But at the same time, even a made man and his brother can get beat with a bat and buried in a cornfield.
So let me. It actually talks about. So they were told, him and his brother. They were told his Nikki's brother he was going to become a capo, which I guess is almost a made man. And then Nikki was told, Nikki was going to become a capo, and his brother Michael was going to become a made man. And they tricked him, and they were beaten to death in the basement in Illinois, and then transported to the cornfield where we saw them die. So,
Wow.
I get like that level of just brutality. And it looks like they beaten to death. They weren't buried alive like that, but basically tuning. I mean, what a way to go!
Yeah.
Kind of like Goodfellas.
Another way too long Scorsese film.
Yeah. But that's
I'm
the
telling
crazy
you,
thing is
he makes the same movie, and Joe Pesci plays the same exact character in all of them.
But Joe Pesci is good at playing it, though. I'm gonna give him I know this movie.
That's the only character he.
Home Alone. He plays a good cop, burglar. But Alec's frozen right now. Now he's back. You can continue on your rant.
I was gonna say he doesn't play anybody else. That's the only character he plays. He's in no other movie.
Whoa, come on, dude. My cousin Vinny, just
Same.
because it's the same character in a lawyer version. Yeah,
My internet agrees with JJ, apparently.
that's right. It's like, shut up, Alec. JJ's right.
He's the same character in My
I
Cousin
know.
Vinny.
I know. But with the greatest running, jumping uppercut ever seen on the planet.
But to me, it's hard to deny the chemistry, though, of Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, though. Like, Scorsese did have that. I think he, at times, maybe sat in front of a mirror and was like, I can't make any different movies. But he's like, but why? They're just so good at this. Like, people will watch, and we still watch, and people are still watching. They were born in the same year. Like, they were made to act together. Like, literally, they're just perfect. And so that's what gets me through the movie. But this is my recommendation. It's funny, like, when you recommend some movies and you watch it again from a different eye, and it realize how long it takes, and like the lulls through it would, at times, this movie got a little painful for me. And I'll admit with Ginger as well, like, she becomes annoying to an extent where I'm like, I know she's a train wreck. I don't need to see it for like the 9th time. This is hurting my soul. And I can't believe she's a mother of this child, and poor girl that's going to grow up in this world and just see her mother like just publicly berate her husband, who in the grand scheme of things, they never, and I don't see anywhere in here, Sam never, like, maybe he did or didn't cheat on her and do all that stuff. He seemed a pretty stable guy, just trying to have like a normal-esque relationship. Maybe he was a little cognizant of the public eye, but she just could never figure it out. And yeah, I just needed less of that. Like, you could probably cut out like 40 minutes of that almost.
Yeah. Now, I also get the point that they were trying to make too, because like I was saying, she's kind of like a cornered badger, right? Like, she's too big for that kind of a life.
Mm-hmm.
So by limiting her to being, just his arm candy and sticking her at home,
fair.
like, he's created this problem because she's lived this life of like excitement and being out there making money, doing things, messing with people and scamming people, and then you stick her in this place where she's just bored. Yeah, of course she's going to do dumb things and things like that. But I'm with you. I think they just did it too much. Like, I didn't need to see that extreme.
You make a fair point, JJ. Like, the actual progression of the real life, actually makes a ton of sense now that I think about it. Like, you literally took away what she enjoyed.
Yeah.
So it's not that we just needed less of it because we understood the narrative. It just became a little exhaustive.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great way to explain a lot of the things that are going on in this movie. Is it's that everything that they do is actually fun. It's interesting to watch. It's a cool story, but it's a little exhaustive.
Yeah.
But I think you could say Martin Scorsese, he's a little exhaustive. Because there's just, I was looking at a list of his films before we started recording, and I'm like, the ones that I love, like, yeah, they're all very, very, very long and very exhaustive. Is a great way to explain it.
Jumping to a related topic in this movie, for those that do like to gamble, how do you watch a movie like this, or like Ocean's 11 through 30? I love those movies, or just any Hollywood movie about Vegas and gambling and how the house always wins, and you actually go gamble and you just know you're gonna lose, and like the rare times that you win, but then you get him back, just like the scene where they show the high stakes guy, he did win, but they I love that part where they conned him to get back into the casino to get him to lose. I was like, damn, that shiz is clever. Like, for people that are professional gamers who like to go do that, man, I don't, that's just a different world for me. Like, it's hard to just blow that kind of money.
Danny Ocean tells you in Ocean's 11, you wait for that one good hand and then you take the house, Mattson.
It's hard to wait.
Well, and the one thing about casinos for me, like,
I mean, they design it. There's no windows. The temperature to where they place shit, it's all there to make you stay.
Yep. Yeah, oh, for sure. And all of the games. So when I do go to casino, because I love going to casinos, but I
like casinos. I should say Vegas is
like
one of my favorite cities.
Oh, me too. I love Vegas, but I don't play certain games, and like, I'll never play poker. in a casino because I'm not smart enough for that game.
Me too.
Because that's a game that you can win if you can read people and you understand your odds and you can read cards to a certain degree. But there's so much going on. I'm just like, fuck it, I'm bored. Let's go. And so I will lose money really quickly. But I play a handful of games. I play Pie Gal because 9 times out of 10 you push. I play blackjack because I can control it to a degree, and I bet low, I bet small, and I only play, and I know where to play and where to go. Well, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like you don't
But do you walk
hit.
in when you're gonna go gamble, JJ, and say I've got 1,000 or 5 grand, or whatever? Like that's what I'm spending, and I'm done. Like, do you have? And you already like this money's gone. Like I'm losing because I feel like you have to go in with mentality like it's over.
Absolutely. Like I set when we go, like I go for way more than just the gambling, but I have a gambling budget that I'll go with.
Because I'm assuming you're going. There's that place that's like what, an hour and a half, 2 hours away. It's
you Wendover,
yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah,
Mesquite, and then
yeah,
there's
yeah.
Vegas that are all within driving distance. So when I go to Wendover, I go to Wendover to golf more than I do to actually gamble because Wendover's got some pretty decent golf courses.
I didn't know you were a golfer. Right.
Yeah, I love to golf. So I'll go out to Wendover to golf. I don't usually go to gamble. If I do gamble at Wendover, it's Pie Gal or it's craps if I'm feeling frisky. Because craps is the only game in the casino where you actually have better odds than the house. And it's not by a lot. I mean, it's barely. But overall, the game, the basic level of game gives you better odds than the house by just like this much. And it's fun. It's a really fun game once you learn all the crazy shit that's going on the table. What I don't do is like poker. I don't do video machines. I don't do slot machines because all that shit is, look, it's tech now. It's all computers.
Yeah, it's all algorithm.
Computers have algorithms that are designed for your ass to feel real good for a minute, and then fucking take you at the end. So I don't deal with that shit because I have a somewhat addictive personality. So I'll win and go, I can do that again. Fuck off. No, you can't. But Pie Gal and blackjack and craps. Craps is all a game of chance, but the odds are decent based on it's just math. It's just numbers being rolled. Blackjack, I can control how much I bet, and I can control when I bet more versus just losing my $5 bet. And in Pie Gal, you just push. Like I said, it's 9 times out of 10, you push, and then you just do it again. So I play games that I can maximize because my real love for gambling is sitting and drinking watered down shitty booze for free while I hang out with funny people. I love talking to dealers, like one of my favorite things, or going to a blackjack table because it's one of the only games where everybody helps everybody because you can get fucked by the person next to you if they do dumb shit and don't follow the typical established rules for blackjack. So a lot of times you go to a blackjack table, and because you can't really cheat at blackjack besides counting cards, you can sit at a table and have conversations with the other people at the table playing, and the dealer will even give you suggestions. And they won't tell you based on their card. They'll tell you the rules of blackjack. They'll say to you, based on what you have versus my up card, you should stay or you should hit because that's where we're at. Those are the basic knowledge rules. And I love that, sitting around having a good time talking with people at the blackjack table or the Pie Gal table. That shit's fun to me, and just getting free drinks. So, but I don't like losing money. But
I'm not a big gambler. I didn't grow up with it, but I love to go now, and I'll do a couple things, but I don't know it well enough to like be a connoisseur of it. But
we should all just go to Vegas, and I'll teach you guys how to play craps.
I'm so down. I would love to do that.
The other thing, and this is an aside here that for everyone, listeners, you guys, if you didn't know this, a lot of the casinos in Vegas, if you go during the day when the gambling is slow, they usually have some open tables there of all their games. I think it's like almost every one of the major casinos. The one that we did it at was, what's the one that Stallone owns with Bruce Willis, Planet Hollywood. So we went to Planet Hollywood. During the day, they'll teach you how to play the games with fake chips. So when we went to Planet
Mhm.
Hollywood, they gave us, it was Circus chips, like old Circus chips with like a hole drilled in it. And we sat at the craps table for like 30 minutes, and everybody that was there got to be the roller, and then the person teaching you will scrape, and so they teach you, how do you make these bets, how do you bet on, because you have the little dice pictures of like the hard eights, the hard doubles, and then you got your come out line. And so they literally teach you from start to finish how to play, because if they teach you, you're more likely to go spend money and gamble. But they'll do it with any game. They'll teach you blackjack, they'll teach you multi-deck blackjack, they'll teach you the best and smartest ways to play each game, because it doesn't mean anything to them, because the odds are in their favor 9 out of almost every game in the casino. So what I say that because it's fun to learn the different games being taught to you, and it makes playing in real time more interesting. Now, the other advice I always give to people that go to Vegas is go to Bill's Gambling Hall. It's right next to, I don't know what it's next to now, or if it's even standing, but it's just really old dump of a casino. But they have like dollar blackjack, and they have like $5 craps, where a lot of craps games in the bigger casinos are $20 buy, like come out. You have to bet $20 minimum. That shit hurts when you start losing $20, $40, $60, come out rolls. Whereas if I'm throwing down $5 a game, my shitty luck, it's still fun for me. And so, like, I love Bill's Gambling. I'll go sit and play dollar blackjack for like 3 hours and drink stale beer and hang out with weird people. But yeah, I love Vegas. Anytime anybody wants to go to Vegas,
Bill's Gambling, is that close to Fremont?
No, it's up on the other side, but it's close to, it's across the street, kind of from Caesar's, Caesar's Palace. It's across the street and kind of up towards MGM. So we were staying at the Paris Hotel the last time we went to Bill's Gambling Hall, and we would come out of Paris Hotel and we would walk in front of Bally's, I think it is, and then you cross the street and Bill's Gambling Hall's right there, and you wouldn't even know what the hell it was if you didn't just walk in and be like, holy shit, this is actually a casino. It looks like an old West type of, like, it's like walking in on Tombstone, like when they're in there betting at Tombstone in the movie Tombstone. That's kind of what it feels like. It's all, you walk in, you're like, it smells like 3-day-old beer.
My Huckleberry.
But yeah, exactly. I'm
Go get some pizza from Grimaldi's when you're there in the Venetian. Delicious. I love Vegas.
Yes. Vegas.
In fact, I think I'm going to go at the beginning of November, JJ, so maybe you should come.
Dude, let me know, for real. I'll go, because I'll tell you guys offline, but I right now I have about, I could stay at some nice hotels for a couple of days for free. So
JJ knows a guy.
I know a guy. I love Vegas, so anything that can get me to Vegas. Last time we went, we stayed, not the last time, but the time we went, we stayed at the New York for 2 nights for free.
It's a fun hotel.
Then we went to 2 shows for free. I try not to spend money getting there and staying there. I like to spend money on other things, food typically, and then gambling, and then buying souvenirs and shit. I love Vegas. Cool. Yeah, Casino. What a long movie. It is a classic. I have to give it some credit. I do love Joe Pesci, even though he does play the same character in almost every movie he's ever been in. But I love Joe Pesci. He has such great charisma on screen, no matter what. And then don't even get me started on Sharon Stone. I could watch Sharon Stone for ages, especially 80s Sharon Stone, when she was actually a good actress for the most part. Yeah. I love the actors, and De Niro's just De Niro. Even James Wood as a shitty little. James Woods is good usually too, as a side character. All right, should we rate this thing?
Let's do it.
All right.
I go first.
Okay, go first.
It's my movie. I think this movie will always be better when the first time that I saw it. It's long, extremely well acted. I do enjoy the characters. I do enjoy pretty much the whole story arc to an extent, but having watched this, like a lot of things we watch for this podcast, you just kind of see the gaping holes in a lot of what you've thought you'd enjoyed more. I don't know the next time I'm going to watch this movie, because, man, it's long. Like, I can understand why you haven't seen it in like 10 years, JJ. Um, so for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 2. Like, it's a good movie, but there's a lot of gaping holes that were presented to me, and I'm man enough to admit that something that I thought was better the first time that I saw is not as good the third time. And for our listeners, if you want a good gangster movie, like, it's a good Scorsese film, it's on brand, but it's gonna take you a hot minute to watch it.
Yeah. All right, Alec.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick, for requesting Mattson's movie, so we get that on the docket quicker through TikTok.
That is true.
Appreciate you, Nick. I really like this movie. I know I took a little bit of a dump on it, but that's just because Joe Pesci and Martin Scorsese make the same exact film every single time they make a film. But I really enjoy it, and I love the deep kind of character story in this one. Down to the point that the reason that the Teamsters got busted was because they didn't reimburse their employee for his travel, and he was keeping his receipts.
Mm-hmm.
So employers everywhere, learn.
It's a good lesson.
Especially if you're skimming off your Vegas casino.
Yeah.
But I just love the whole kind of in and out of these gangster Scorsese movies, and the real deep story that he tells, and the kind of crisscrossing lines, and having just De Niro and Pesci narrate over was such a nice touch. For me, this is a 4, plain and simple. I enjoy it. I mean, it is a long watch, but it was kind of made when 3-hour movies were non-existent. And now they're kind of the norm, is these long, dragging out movies. And sometimes I feel like these longer movies now don't have as much reason to be long as Casino does, being made in 95. So, yeah, I would definitely watch it again. It's awesome.
If I hadn't watched this and we just reviewed it and I just said I've seen it enough, I probably would have given this a 4. But having watched it again, I think it was a nail in the coffin for me.
Yeah.
One time too many for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the middle of the two of you. Like, I love the acting, but you could put De Niro and Pesci in anything, and I'm probably going to enjoy it. I mean, even Kevin Pollak. I love Kevin Pollak, even though he's only in it barely. But there's a lot of actors in this that I love to watch. I think the story's compelling. I think the acting is great. I just think it's overdone. I think it's Scorsese got in his own way. And the other issue that I have that comes up with me is, if I'm going to watch Scorsese gangster, I'm going to watch Goodfellas, because you have the addition of Ray Liotta with, and I love Ray Liotta. And to me, that movie, and it's a half an hour shorter, and there's more connection to like the family side of it. It's just not this story of how Vegas casinos were created and how sports books were put into the casinos, and then all of the psychosis around the families and the Teamsters that were going on during that time at the same time, to be overbloated. I think if you'd have trimmed down 30 minutes of this movie, I would have rated it even higher. But again, I would always say, if I'm going to watch Scorsese and gangsters, it's going to be Goodfellas over this one. Just because there's nothing like a good Ray Liotta as Henry Hill fucking going nuts and paranoid and shit. So, but overall, I enjoy the movie. It'll probably be another 15 years before I watch it again, unless Casey does want to hold to it. She hasn't seen it, so she wants to watch it. So I may suffer through another 3 hours. But yeah, so I'm going to give it a 3.
I want to say something. I think what also hindered me for this, I recently watched A Bronx Tale before this, and watched Casino, and Bronx Tale is just better. Like, a lot better to me. It doesn't have Joe Pesci. It's not a Scorsese film, but I think that I had that comparison in my head, and that movie's exceptionally better in my opinion. It's kind of long too, but really captivating for me in that one. So I think that kind of affects me, because I'm sitting here being like, man, I really did give it a 2, but I feel good about it.
Yeah. I think that whole point hits the nail on the head with this movie. If you're looking for a gangster movie or like a mob movie or a Teamster, there's better choices out there. While this one isn't bad, it's just not the best choice to spend 3 hours watching. But
I wonder if a movie that tells a true story, this movie's got to be one of the most true.
It's on point.
Like, I didn't know that. So this movie's got to be up there for the most true movie made about a true story.
That and Goodfellas. So Scorsese does it because Goodfellas is true too. So
fair.
It's another one. In fact, there's people. The guy that, not Henry Hill, but I can't remember whose character it is. But there's a guy that's like a side character in Goodfellas that does like talks about being part of that crew and knowing that group. So it's very interesting. But yeah, Scorsese makes interesting films and he tells good stories because like he did Gangs of New York was relatively true
Yeah,
as well. So I mean, he's done some great ones where he holds pretty true to the story and the, you know, the truth of it all as close
I'll
as
give
you
him
can
that.
with film.
Good job doing that.
Which is part of the reason I think some of his films are so goddamn long.
Yeah.
But anyway, there it is. Across the board, that was the widest spread we've had in a while. So interesting film. Good choice, Nick. Thank you. Nick makes the bags, right?
He does
Go
make
check
the
his
bag.
stuff out. He makes cool bags. We're gonna have him on. We are gonna have him on one of these days. So thanks, Nick. It's a good choice. Mattson, great choice. It was on your list, and Nick pushed it to the top. So I liked it.
Getting our listeners in here. Nick, this is a much better movie than Charles recommended. So let's let that be remembered here.
That's fair.
Charles out here trying to get us to watch booty movies. At least Nick's got some class.
That's funny. All right. Well, Mattson, tell them where else they can find us.
Yeah, we'll make this one quick. You guys can listen to us. Our Good Podcast can be found on What's Our Verdict Reviews. Check us out at whatsourverdict.com, especially as we're putting on our slate for the month of September. It's, again, TV shows are king. We're still doing She-Hulk. We got House of the Dragon, and Rings of Power is about to drop, and we're going to be doing a live show, as we have been doing, on Mondays for Rings of Power and House of the Dragon at 6 p.m. Mountain, and so that's 8 p.m. Eastern, and those are the only two time zones we'll give you. 5 p.m. Pacific, maybe one more. We hate Central Time, so screw you, Central. And check us out at TikTok to see recent videos of me getting made fun of by Alec.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. That the time zone thing is always a payback for me living in the West Coast now, or the west side of the country now, not the coast, but you always used to get the 8-7 Central. Fuck off. You don't say mountain, I'm not saying central, bitches. All right. So, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!